What was the Soviet Union's reaction to the Marshall Plan? Have you ever wondered how a simple economic aid program could spark such a fierce reaction from a superpower? The Marshall Plan, introduced by the United States in 1947, aimed to help rebuild Europe after World War II. However, the Soviet Union saw it as a direct threat to its influence and ideology. When the Marshall Plan was announced, it was framed as a way to prevent economic collapse in war-torn countries. But for the Soviet leadership, led by Joseph Stalin, it was more than just financial assistance. They perceived it as an attempt by the United States to spread capitalism and undermine communist governments in Eastern Europe. The Soviet Union firmly rejected the Marshall Plan. They pressured their satellite states, like Poland and Czechoslovakia, to do the same. Even countries that showed interest in the aid were discouraged from participating. The Soviets believed that accepting aid from the United States would lead to political and economic control by the West, making it harder to maintain their grip on Eastern Europe. In response to the Marshall Plan, the Soviet Union launched its own initiative called the Molotov Plan. This program aimed to provide economic support to Eastern European countries but on terms set by the Soviet Union. The Molotov Plan was designed to strengthen ties within the communist bloc and limit Western influence. From the Soviet perspective, rejecting the Marshall Plan was essential to avoid integration into the capitalist world. They used propaganda to criticize the Marshall Plan, portraying it as a tool of American imperialism. This narrative aimed to rally support among Eastern European nations and reinforce their independence from Western powers. The practical outcome of the Soviet Union's reaction was a deepening divide between East and West. While the Marshall Plan helped rebuild Western Europe and stabilize capitalist economies, the Molotov Plan reinforced Soviet control over Eastern Europe. This division became a key aspect of the Cold War, where the United States aimed to contain the spread of communism, and the Soviet Union sought to protect and expand its influence. In short, the Soviet Union's reaction to the Marshall Plan was one of outright rejection. They promoted their own economic program while using their influence to prevent Eastern European countries from accepting American aid. This response highlighted the ideological conflict at the heart of the Cold War and shaped the political and economic dynamics of post-war Europe.